Mitchell, or from Henry, Representative Mitchell for opening remarks on House File 369.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Iowa House. House File 369 is a fairly straightforward bill, very important. It doubles the adoption tax credit from $5,000 to $10,000 over the next 2 fiscal years. Mr. Speaker, those are my opening comments.
Is there discussion? The chair recognizes the gentleman from Polk, Representative Losey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I filed this bill along with Representative Mitchell and Gobble for a couple of different reasons. Many of you may know that I'm adopted. My entire family, as a matter of fact, my 3 siblings are all adopted, a couple of cousins that are adopted. Adoption runs a long history within my family. Huge advocate for this particular form of parenting, and truly appreciate everyone who takes someone into their home that came from someone else. It's an amazing thing. Over the last couple of years, we've had a lot of debates in this chamber about life, about sanctity of life, about different things, and on a number of occasions, you all have challenged us to think about, if we're so protective of life, what are we going to do about adoption? How are we going to strengthen that? Well, I've taken your challenge. I accept your challenge. And this is, I apologize for taking 2 years to get there. But over the interim this year, sat down with people with Joe Mitchell and with those in the private placement adoption arena, those in the foster care arena, to talk about what we can do to make adoption more affordable, more accessible, and easier for parents to accept these people and young people into their homes. This is the first step. Easy step, I think, and I hope you all would support it, and I promise you that we'll keep bringing bills as we try to look for those ways and as we accept your challenge and hopefully meet your challenge. Appreciate your support. Thank you to Representative Mitchell for running this bill, and hopefully we'll pass it tonight. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the lady from Blackhawk, Representative Brown Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Mitchell and Representative Losey. I know can explain a lot of things to me. But this is a good bill. The average cost for an adoption can run between $35,000 and $45,000. And so, any way that we can help families build and expand their family is a good thing. Bringing in those babies that need a home, that's important. So I hope that we can all support this bill. In fact, I hope that in the future, I know Representative Jones is on board, that we can lower this cost even further for families. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Mitchell for closing remarks on HF 369.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to Representative Losey's comments about himself being adopted and multiple family members of his being adopted, and thank you to Representative Brown Powers for serving on the subcommittee, and personally for me, this bill is near and dear to my heart because my youngest sister, Isabella, was adopted from Guatemala 14 years ago, and remember my parents bringing her home from the airport at midnight while my brothers and I stayed up eagerly waiting to see our new baby sister. And so now, 14 years later, Isabella is a flourishing, not so little freshman in high school, and she's involved in traveling volleyball team, band, choir, and living her best life right now. More recently, my brother and my sister-in-law have adopted 2 beautiful nieces, Addie and Annie Mitchell, who unfortunately were born into neglected homes with parents that weren't equipped to be parents, and by the grace of God were removed from that home and now live a life of comfort, with a family that loves them and an Uncle Joe that spoils them. This piece of legislation is an important bipartisan piece of legislation. I know that each and every one of us in this room want children to be taken care of and grow up in a loving household, particularly for those of us that consider ourselves pro-life. Like Representative Losey explained, we must do everything possible to make sure that adoption is as easy as possible so no child is forced to be born to a neglected family. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I move House File 369.
Gentleman from Henry moves the bill be read for the last time and placed on its passage. Are there objections? Hearing none, clerk will read.
House File 369, a bill for an act relating to the adoption tax credit available against the income tax credit, be it enacted by the General Assembly of the State of Iowa.
The question now is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor, shall vote aye. All those opposed, vote no. The clerk will open the machine and receive your vote. Judge votes aye. Stade votes aye. Moore of Scott votes aye. Landon votes aye. Height votes aye. Have you all now voted? The clerk closed the machine. The House will pay attention to results of the vote. Those voting aye, 93. Those voting no, 1. Absent or not voting, 6. The bill having received a constitutional majority is declared to pass the House. There are objections to the title. The chair hears none. The title is agreed to.